Lyle with Lyon-Lincoln Electric, and I'm glad that Robin had gotten a hold of me, I guess, but by somebody else, thanks to Maddie, so she volunteered me to come and speak with you this morning. So I'm here to speak with you on what I do on a day-to-day basis, and I guess how I got from where you guys are in the seats to where I'm at today. So with that, I grew up east of Russell, went to Russell, which was the Russell Bulldogs way back in the day, back in the 80s. So we lived east of Russell, about 9 miles, and back then we didn't have open enrollment, so wherever you were at in your school district is the school you went to. So we were 9 miles east of Russell, which meant we were on the west side of County Road 7 that goes to Marshall. And with that, we went to the Russell School District. If we lived on the east side, we would have went to Tracy. A mile north, we would have went to Marshall, and a half a mile south, we would have went to Battleton. So back then, you had no choice of where you went. So, and then once we combined with Tyler back in, like 82 it was the RT Danes, and then in 88 it was RTR. So I know, I'm not sure for where all you guys live, but for us it was about 18 miles, 19 miles to go to school. So it was tough to do sports because you were so far away, growing up on a farm. Farming came first. So I look at it, well, I wish I could have did sports, but farming came first and the parents said what you had to do. So that's how that went. But growing up on the farm, I guess we milked cows. We milked up to 60 cows by buckets, so it was not real easy work. From the bucket, you poured it into a 5-gallon pail, then from there you carried it the length of the barn and then lifted up into the bulk tank. So I guess if not, it was a good workout, and that's why my back so hurts today, I guess, but that's good work ethic, I guess. So, but growing up on the farm, it was good work ethic from baling hay, walking beans, picking rock, and then when you got done doing that, their neighbors a mile down the road needed help, so you helped them throughout the summer. So you didn't have a shortage of doing any of that work. So, and then now when it came to schoolwork, I was a B average student, and it was tough to get to B average because once I got home, I did not have time to do any homework. It was pretty much, if you didn't get it done in school, you did what it did, and some grades didn't turn out very good because, so it shows. But yeah, doing that, the school work is, yeah, if you have time to do it, it's great, but yeah, it's the teachers, expect you to do it, and not everybody gets it done, but that's part of life. And they say for us, if we had time, it was maybe a half an hour, but you were worried about going to bed because by the time you got in the house, it was 9 o'clock. Then at 5 o'clock in the morning, you were getting up. If you didn't get up, Dad always had that cup of water that he threw on you to get you up. And so you milked cows for 2 hours, got in the house at 7, and then you had to be on the bus by 20 after 7. So there was not much time to get anything done. So you kind of ate as you walked down the driveway to the bus. So, and so yeah, you're probably thinking, God, this guy is like really old or something like that. But so I'm not that old. So, but in school, my classes, I had the same classes, pretty much what you guys are taking here now. I would say my favorite classes was math. Math and a little bit of algebra, but math was my biggest thing. And I guess with math, I would have thought that I would have wanted to be an accountant instead of being a lineman. But with growing up with 6 other siblings, 3 other brothers and 3 other sisters, my oldest brother, which he's a line superintendent for the city of Marshall, so he did that career. He started in 82 it was, so he went to Jackson for vocational school, and so after he had gotten a job, he worked in southeastern Minnesota, then he came and worked for Marshall for a lineman. And when it came to be a junior, I decided, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but he kind of influenced me. He goes, God, this is a great opportunity. If you like being outside, working hard, he says, this is an awesome job. It pays well, and it's dangerous, but he says it's a good job. So I went that way, enrolled into Jackson, and did the same career as he did. And it's a 9-month course. When I graduated in end of May on a Friday, there was an opening in Tyler here for a summer help. The previous summer help had gone off to school, so they were looking for a summer help. So after I graduated, I came in, just walked in, talked to the Lyon superintendent, which is Merle Hanson, which still is in town here today yet. And I just kind of asked him questions about, what, about the summer help. And he goes, yeah, sure, want to come? Pack your lunch and come here, show up on Monday. So I really never had an official, interview. That was my interview. So then after the 3 months of work in the summer, they, got to know the guys well, and they've seen, God, this guy's going to work out pretty good, I think, So they pushed, the manager to say, God, we could use another lineman, to help out because, other guys are going to be retiring a few years down the road. So it worked out that it turned into a full-time job, and then I was a lineman for 15 years, working, storms, building a line, hooking up services. Then after the 15 years and after some retirements went on, I had an opportunity to move into inside. So I moved inside and did staking, which you go out and stake jobs, meet with consumers, and see what their needs are. And did that for 6 years. Then the line superintendent job came open here 6.5 years ago, so I applied for that and I got that. So that's how I kind of worked myself up to where I am now today. So, I guess with questions, you can blurt them out at any time and nothing formal. So if there's something that I've hit on, one of your questions, you can ask and I can help on again. Otherwise, somebody want to throw a question out there?
How many hours do you work each week?
I am salary, so it's 40 hours a week, but I usually go in an hour early every day just to get jobs lined up for the guys. And, if electricians call the day before, so I want to make sure, when the guys come in for a morning meeting, I want to make sure everything's ready for them. So instead of, showing up late and being disorganized. So, yeah, so it's in salary, when it comes to storm jobs. You're putting the extra time in, going in, helping take call and stuff like that, so you're not getting paid for it. That's all part of the salary, but that's what you kind of signed up for. So, but I guess being on the salary part of it, not being on the line anymore, is that you don't have to take call. So being on call, that you have to, be around at night. You can't just go to Marshall, run errands. You have to stick around for that week that you're on call. So I guess that was kind of the opportunity that I wanted to have a little more freelance to do what I wanted to do. So, anybody else?
How necessary is it to communicate clearly with people?
It's very important because, safety is number one. I'd say being a lineman is probably one of the top 5 dangerous jobs in the world. Because if you're not communicating with your employees, when you're out doing a job, one bad move, that's it, So it's very important. So in the morning when we have our morning meetings, we have 7 linemen, then we have a warehouse guy and another staker that comes in there. Then our office manager comes in there, our manager comes into the meeting, and our engineer. So we have 12 of us that come into a meeting every morning. So when I give out the jobs, if there's any questions that somebody has about a job or the previous day job, it can all get brought up there. So everybody's on the same page. Because there's a lot of, we're a smaller co-op. We are a co-op of 4,100 members and 5,000 meters. And there's other co-ops where they just bring in their foremen, their job foremans, and then they give them the jobs, and then they go out to their crew and tell them what to do. So this gives a way for the apprentices that come up through the ranks to ask questions and get kind of comfortable, because these young guys are coming out of school, they just sit there and they don't say nothing, So they want to, this is a good opportunity for them to kind of say a little bit of input, and feel like they're part of the team too. So, but yes. Yep.
What types of technology do you use?
Technology, for the staking part of it, we use a stakeout software. We go out in the field. We're getting into where we can GPS points. So that's all new technology stuff that we haven't had in the past. Before, everything was done on paper, You know, you made a staking sheet, wrote it on paper, give it to the guys, everything was paper. Now, when you go out and build a unit, you know, like a pole across where you load the buses there, you know, that pole comes with cross-arm pins, you know, it comes with inventory that is designated to that structure. So it kind of lessens the inventory, so there's no error for, you know, I mean, if you counted the wrong bolt or, you know, how many, you know, it takes one pole, one cross-arm, so it makes your inventory come out a lot better that way. Instead, it takes the error out of the crew chief, especially when you get onto a bigger job like that, so.
What is the most valuable thing you learned in high school or college?
I would say probably, you know, the work ethic is working hard. I mean, I look at growing up, you know, working hard, you know, when I wake up in the morning, you know, I have a sign in my office that says attitude is everything, and underneath of it says pick a good one. And I look at it, that is, when you wake up in the morning, if you have a bad attitude, and I said you're going to bring it to work, and if I bring it to work, I'm going to spread it over the rest of my guys. So I wake up in the morning, you know, I mean, even if I have a bad day, I got to, you know, put that, you know, off to the side and still show, you know, that, you know, attitude is everything there. So did that answer your question? Not really, I don't think.
No.
Say your question again.
What's the most valuable thing you learned in high school or college?
Let's see, the math was probably the biggest thing. You know, I guess the English and stuff, you know, I didn't think, you know, I'm not a public speaker by any means, but, you know, I guess I love the math, but the English and stuff like that and the communication stuff, you know, I was not that person in school, you know. So I want to say the last time I probably got up in front of a big group, you know, besides just my co-workers, is probably back in high school. Probably is the last time I probably got up in Mr. Hummel's class when we had to do it for I forget what we had to do, but we had to pick out a project and they videotaped us and stuff like that. But yeah, so I'd say math, but communication was definitely not my cup of tea anyway. So.
Speech kids, how's he doing?
You're doing good.
Really well, yeah.
You kind of learn a little bit, but yeah, I think, you know, for any speaker, you know, there's always that little bit of, you know, unease or whatever, but I guess you make the best of it, so. Uh-oh, you better have a question, you're yawning.
How do you believe your company or business impacts the society?
I guess, how many of you used electricity this morning?
Yep.
That kind of answers your question there.
Yeah.
So without electricity, it's pretty hard to function. I mean, you'd think that you can, but you know, I guess a good example is look at last Christmas. What did we all do last Christmas? Do we remember last Christmas?
Yeah.
You didn't stay at Christmas with
No,
us?
exactly. So yeah, I came in and got some snacks is what
Yep,
all I
and then
did.
you
So
left.
so yeah, I went out and worked with the guys last Christmas. So yeah, and it was kind of ironic because that morning, you know, the lights were flickering and kind of knew that it wasn't looking good, you know. So I got the generator ready because we were going to have Christmas on my wife's side there. And then the power went out about 9:30 that morning. So I took my son Logan and I says, let's go patrol line and see what the problem is. So we went and patrol line.
Oh, you could go now.
And so we found out what the problem was. And then as we patrolled line, then I kept getting some other calls and texts of broken poles. And then I started calling guys that were gone for Christmas. And I said, well, you might as well start coming back, you know, from where you're at. And everybody was kind of fairly close, but, you know, and linemen, they love storms. You know, I mean, it doesn't matter. Even if it's your own project, you still love them, you know, because that's what a lineman is. I mean, you live for these days of going out, fighting Mother Nature, and, you know, trying not to let her get the best of you. But I remember going out and with the linemen, and I mean, literally, it was right at noon, and it was literally a downpour. And it was actually, we're splicing line, I had my rubber gloves on, and literally, the guy was up in the bucket, I was going to get the wire to, and the water was literally running in my gloves. And after, you know, Logan was in the pickup while he was watching us, and literally, I'd say I dumped about half a cup of water out of these gloves, you know, after I'd given the wire to the guy that spliced it back up. So, I mean, yes, it was not very good conditions, you know, and all day was like that, you know, too. So, but So yeah, it's fun, and like I say, I enjoyed it because that was the first time I got to go out in about 10 years. So it was kind of nice to go out and do the thing that I used to do for 15 years. So, but
I was gonna ask, how do you deal with like those power outages and stuff like?
as we have a answering service after hours that down in Austin that takes all of our calls. So when a call comes, if you call in, it's transferred down there, and then they'll ask you certain questions. Did you check your breakers? They'll ask you certain questions, and then if it's an outage, then they in turn call the on-call phone. And one guy is on call, then they turn around and then call another lineman, and then they go out as a team of two. So.
So what did
Okay.
you go?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so in that situation, how important is it to communicate clearly with each other?
They say, again, I'll probably say safety 20 times, 100 times today, but yeah, because like I say, if you are not on the same page, they say, like they me giving that wire to that guy, and you got to make sure you test and ground the line before you do anything, because especially storm jobs are the worst things to be on, because people, they're desperate to get their power back on, so they'll hook up their generators, and without pulling that disconnect down, they'll backfeed their generator back onto our lines, and they call that backfeed. So if a line is laying on the ground thinking it's dead, without testing and grounding it, and lines do lay on the ground hot because of, the snow is insulating the wire that is not, covered. So, it can be laying there, you think it's dead just because it's cut down, but it can still be energized yet. And that's where, people would get nicked and killed from, so. But yeah, so communication is definitely huge, knowing what everybody's doing. Yeah, I look at communication, before our guys go out and do any job, they have a tailgate. A tailgate is not any different than going out, when you play football, basketball, volleyball, the coach sends in a play. That's the same thing that our guys are having every day before they do a job. They're making sure everybody knows what every person is doing on that job to make sure it's safe. And you're doing the same thing, making sure you do the right thing to score, or, so, same deal. So.
So what exactly does like a lineman do in like how you're talking about it?
The linemen, they go out and actually build line. And they say, let's say you're on the lake there, and they say you're building your house that you live in. We would, the staker would go out there and meet with, say, your dad or mom, whoever's there, and they would decide on, where you want your service. And usually the electrician is usually there because they're going to wire your house, and so we kind of find a good spot to where it is. So the staker goes out and stakes the job if it's going to be an overhead service or underground service. And then the staker comes back, builds that staking sheet, then they give it to me, then I give it to, designate to which crew it is. Then they go out and, put the poles in, put the transformer in, the service, heat that all up, and then the electrician takes it over from there. Or if it's underground, plow in the cable, set the transformer. The difference of transformers, there's a transformer, the round ones that sit up on a pole, or there's green ones on the ground, that's a transformer. So one of those, so they'll hook up all the connections for that. So then otherwise they'll do maintenance. Right now we had a guy come last fall and do pole inspection. So he tests the poles if they're rotten or not. Because usually the poles, if they're rotten like about 6 to 8 inches below ground line. So they're out changing poles out right now. So maintaining the line, then we'll start tree trimming here probably in the next month. So clearing the lines or the trees away from the lines. So that's pretty much what they're doing, maintaining and building lines, pretty much what they do year round. So.
How is that impacted by our area's wind towers? Do you have to take that into consideration?
The wind towers that were down to the south by Lake Benton, they had us come, they came in and they paid us to bury the lines that were going to be affected when they built their transmission line. But this one that just went up by Ivanhoe, they put in all underground transmission lines. So along with that, so this is kind of what our underground wire looks like. So the center is the conductor, and then the clear stuff is the insulation around it. And then, can you see the kind of the copper looking one? That's the ground around it. And then the outside is just a sheathing that kind of helps protect it from gophers and if it gets nicked during installation. So this is pretty much, this is like a 15 kV cable is what we put in every day for our installations. And the guys, when they were out there, they took a chunk of the transmission. This is 34,000 volt cable. So you can see the difference with the higher voltage, 15 to 34,000, what the difference is. So the higher the voltage, the bigger the wire you need. So yeah, so that's, I can pass it around, you can kind of see the difference there. But
How much does that run a foot?
that stuff, I think, is, our stuff runs about, a little over $2 a foot. And I'm thinking the other stuff is probably $6 to $7 a foot, I'm guessing. And then, depends on different insulations. Some people put in copper, which is more, so some of that stuff runs around 14, 15 bucks a foot. So if you ever heard about copper theft, people stealing copper, there's a reason, if this was all copper, and there's copper on the outside, if you're really ambitious and want to strip that all out of there, you can, but, with all the stuff laying out there, yeah, somebody could have came and, stole copper there too, so. And we've had that happen to us where, we've had, our contractor plowed in a chunk of underground and they coiled up the wire that needed to go up the pole. And we came by about a week and a half later and we're like, God, where's this wire at? I know they plowed it in. Well, we went and looked at the ground line and here somebody came by and cut it off at the ground line. So here we had a splice on a chunk to go up the pole. So, we've only had about, I think, 2 or 3 different instances where people stole copper from us. But I know by the cities, people have gotten, stole copper and the thieves have laid right where they stole it too because they didn't know what they were doing and they got into, some energized conductor and, they got fried. So yeah, is it worth it? No, but, okay.
Oh, John has another question.
I was gonna ask, since people steal copper, do you ever deal with people who steal electricity?
Yep, there definitely, we've had a few of those instances. If people will try anything, you can get anything off the internet and they'll try it, but we have electronic meter reads. I think you had asked a question about technology.
Yep.
Before we used to have mechanical meters where we actually had to go out once a year and read them just to make sure they're all working. Now we have electronic meters where we can actually read them from the office every day and get usage, demand off of them. So yeah, if there isn't a reading that comes back to us, and, or if the reading is the same, reading as the day before, we'll send somebody out there to check and make sure. We've had one instance where somebody actually went to a neighboring co-op and took a meter off an abandoned farm site and put it into their service. So yeah, they'll try about anything. So it took a little bit, but we did end up finding them. So, and then like say the cops, they try and prosecute them and stuff like that, and they can get more of a slap.
So you just contact police? Or,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we usually, if we have something like that, we'll meet the cop off site, then we'll, meet there and try and, meet with the person that's stealing, but usually a lot of times they won't answer the door or nothing, so then they have to go get a search warrant, so yeah, usually it's, so. But usually once they know that we're there and we, then, they kind of, they know what's going on. And we did prosecute one person, but we did not, or we could have, but we did not do it because he was in trouble, because when the cops went there, they found he had a search, or he had a warrant for him for not having guns, and he had guns and other stuff, drugs and stuff like that. So the electricity stealing was nothing
Small
minor.
potatoes.
It was, exactly. So we didn't want to kind of put our name on top of that, so, but, so.
How much change do you think your career will see in the next 10 years?
I guess I look at, I remember a speaker saying, when you are like a 3rd or 4th grader, that when you, 70% of people when they graduate, jobs are not even created yet, so it's hard to fathom that. But even in the last 10 years, I've noticed, with the electronic meter reading and stuff like that, and Facebook has been huge for like our Christmas storm, to try and get out to this younger generation, the older generation, they'll call in and stuff like that, but that younger generation, they want to do this here stuff, that's the only way how they want to communicate, which is, it's weird, so I don't know how your speech, classes are going, without doing this here, but hopefully that's going well for you. But even in the last 10 years, like even our digger truck is a truck that sets poles, lifts transformers. Before you had to go up on the seat, to run the controls. Now we have remote controls where it's just like a video game that they can actually run the truck, on the ground, and they can actually help set the pole. So it makes it nice and efficient because instead of sending like a 3-man or 4-man crew out to set poles, now we can do a 3-man crew. So it makes it more efficient because that guy isn't up on the turret of the truck. He can be down helping. So that's technology has definitely helped, and it's only just with computers and stuff like that. It's only just going to make it that much more efficient as the years go by. So,
What's something that affects your job?
Mother Nature is probably the biggest thing that probably affects it a lot. So, as I say, with this warm weather that we have now, which is, I think if anybody drove last night, they noticed that the roads were slippery after we had a little bit of rain and stuff like that. So, Mother Nature is the biggest influence on us, so. Yep.
Okay, what are those things?
I will get to those, but where am I sitting at time here? Okay, what I got till?
25 minutes.
25 more minutes, okay. Well, if we want, we can jump in. Is there any more questions? We can still ask questions here, but.
One quick question.
Yep.
So is there any type of weather, Mother Nature thing that stops you guys at all from going out?
I say lightning is kind of the biggest thing. Is we have safety rules that we have to abide by, and that is one of the things is and that's up to the lineman. But if it's actually lightning out, you're not supposed to do any work because really when you're up, you're just being that lightning rod. So lightning's probably the biggest thing. Storms, the guys have gone out, literally when they could not see me to you in front of them, but, the people been out for, 8 hours, they've been out all night, or we'll work a storm, and a storm you can only work, we only want to work the guys 16 hours in a day because after you start going that second to third day, you need your sleep, and then if you don't get your sleep, then that's when, the safety stuff comes into play where, you start, oh God, we ain't gonna ground on this, So, so actually, guys have gone out where, they throw their strobes on and everything. We got spotlights in front of the truck where they've used them just to see, the white line, I think they went up to Minneota. I think it took them, almost an hour and a half, 2 hours just to get to Minneota from here, And then they still got to patrol the line out, So yeah, I think they spent almost all day just to get, a one line on. So, we will go out. Even though it isn't safe for us, but we just hope that everybody else is just not on the road too, but we will do that.
What do you do other than this?
Then talk to you guys.
Other than your other job, what do you do?
Okay, so I'd say I actually go out and help stake too. I'd say Wade Tuff, he does probably 60% of the staking, and I probably do the other 40% of the staking. And so I go out, if a consumer calls in, and if they want a new service, I'll go out and meet with them. Just when I talk to you, what do you want? What size service you want? Otherwise, if somebody wants, if somebody added an approach for their field, they want to put a wider approach, a pole is there. We have to move the pole, and then we have a work plan that we designate jobs that we want to keep updating our system, because our system is always aging. So just because you put it in doesn't mean it's going to last forever. So a lot of this underground that was put in back in the late 70s, early 80s, that had a 30-year lifespan on it. Well, that's going to be 35, pushing 40 years. Well, that's our work plan is to replace that. So it's just a continuation of just upgrading your system. So you're going out staking to replace that stuff. And then poles and lines don't last forever, so you're upgrading new line and for that too. So, and then like I say, between that, I probably go to about 10 to a dozen meetings a year between us line superintendents. There's 46 co-ops in the state of Minnesota that, we're a smaller co-op, but there's bigger ones throughout the whole state. But we meet twice a year, once in St. Cloud and once up by Breezy Point, up by Brainerd. And we, go over different topics, what people are doing, safety issues that people are seeing, and that's kind of how we communicate. So, and with that, knowing, you know, the other line superintendents, I mean, I feel safe going around the whole state because I can get on my phone and call any line superintendent. If I had car problems, I could call any guy and I know I'll get help within an hour, you know, instead of, you know, going out in the middle of a desolate area, you have no idea, you know, if you know where you're at, I can find somebody. So that makes it nice because, you know, the co-op, we always say we're always a family, and because, you know, that family isn't just, you know, the friends and our coworkers that we have at work. It extends to everybody we work with, you know, on different storms. You know, like even last year, the Christmas storm, we called in people from Slayton and Redwood Falls to come and help us, you know, because they didn't get hit with the ice, you know, so, but over the last 5 years, I've had to call, you know, co-ops 3 different times. So I told them every time they leave, I said, next time, let, you know, me make the call to you, see if we can send our linemen to your co-op instead of having them come here, because after they leave, they're rid of the headache, you know, so we're stuck with the headache of, you know, fixing broken wire, broken ties, broken poles and stuff like that, so, but. Okay, well, I need a volunteer. I think there's somebody sitting right in the middle. I think that looks like she raised her hand.
I think I saw it too.
So I will have Maddie come up here and I'll have her put on some of the stuff that we do daily or use daily. So with starters,
You want us to get our phones out now or just
you sure can, yeah. So with the safety, we have FR rated clothing that we wear. So, and that's an OSHA approved deal that, you know, every co-op, I think that's back in 2014, that they made a standard that all your clothing has got to be FR rated. So from people, otherwise like polyester, if you get polyester and electricity does not match because polyester will melt to your skin. So this here is designated, so if you take a flash, it will distinguish the flash before it does any more damage. So
Does
put that
FR
on.
stand for fire resistant?
Yep, fire resistant, yep. Okay, then being out in the public and out in the open roads, you have to have a vest on so they can see us. Okay, then if we are going up in a bucket, this is a harness. So OSHA says we have to be tethered off to the bucket, so if something happens, if you fall out, you do not fall to the ground. So, and your lanyard is designated, this is a 6-foot lanyard, then it's designated where you'll fall to 6 foot, plus the bungee here, that's your kind of your recoil tape deal, which kind of breaks the fall a little bit, that's 4 foot. And then the height they use, so you gotta take that all in account. You know, so if you're only 10 foot and you fall in the bucket, you're gonna hit the ground hard because this is not gonna do you good. So you gotta be a minimum, if you're 6 foot tall, you gotta be a minimum of 17 feet in the air for this to do you any good. So, but, so I'll go ahead and put this on.
Have you ever fallen out of a bucket or had to?
No.
Had anyone with a bungee?
No. And they do make people that work by themselves, they do make self-rescue things that you can have, that if you do fall out, that it's like a stepping thing. Because the biggest thing is, if you want to put these between.
What?
Okay, and these gotta tie off right here.
Have you ever tipped a bucket over?
No. There other people from co-ops have. And the biggest thing here is, you know, if you fall out of a bucket, it's, and you got all your weight is, you know, right around your legs like this here, that cuts the circulation off. And you only got about less than 5 minutes before it starts doing damage. So that's where these self-rescue things is, just even have a rope where you can, you know, stand in to take that pressure off of there. Otherwise, it's here. So there, okay. So that there is what, and then this here would, you know, tie off to the bucket itself. So that gives you working room, you know, to stretch out and do your stuff in the bucket. Then if you're doing hot work there, you need rubber sleeves, so you don't. So when you're working on hot lines, you don't accidentally brush against a ground. So, you know, electricity is always finding a path to ground. It doesn't matter what it it always wants to see ground. So, and it doesn't care if your body is the path to ground. So that's why you got to cover yourself on all aspects. So, just over your head. And tuck your arms in there. Aren't you glad you volunteered me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's gonna protect her for when she's moving around in a tight, confined area, so she doesn't, come in contact with anything on the ground.
We should have
And
put you
then-
on the scale before we started this and then put you on after.
Then the rubber gloves are the same thing as this here, so this is actually what you're gonna be using to tie wire in or do what you need.
Does it make more sense now how the water got in his gloves?
Yeah.
Because it sheds off that.
Yeah,
Funnel.
Yep.
okay, are you feeling safe yet? Is there anything else you should have on?
I don't know, something on my head.
There you go, awesome. There you go. We'll take that up.
That picture goes to be played.
You're going under my ears.
Under or over?
Over.
Well, you're supposed to go over.
We're going under.
Oh, okay. Are you feeling safe yet? Feel like you want to go out and
I'm not
go
on
for
my legs. I'm on my legs.
so you're good there. The only thing you're probably missing is steel-toed shoes. So,
Oh, what's all this?
Should have let me know. I would have brought you a pair.
so do you feel like you could work in?
I feel like a penguin.
And the thing about it is, rubber and in the cold. I mean, we do have some gloves that we can put on the inside to keep your fingers, warm. But they say, in the cold, your fingers do get cold, and but in the summertime, that stuff is hot. So it's kind of a pick and choose type deal. But I guess I'd rather be hot and sweaty and all that stuff instead of take my chances of trying to get electrocuted. So, but that's what that all entails. So, okay, do you still feel safe? You want to try and climb a pole now?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, now we have a body belt here that we use. Okay.
Jeez. I can't walk.
Okay. Okay, along with that, now OSHA made a standard here back in 2014 that OSHA is there to make standards to make it safer for people out there. And the only reason that OSHA is there is because people did a shortcut and got hurt, and that's why they make standards to, so before we used to have just a belt, we used to just free climb the pole, then we'd get up there, we just tie the belt off. And if you slipped, you just hugged the pole, grabbed down again, and went up. Now they have it so when you go up, the pole, you go around the pole here, and then this strap is tethered back to your belt here. So when you go, these teeth will dig into the pole. So then once you cinch this up, you can only drop a minimum of 2 feet. So that's what they want you to do is when you climb, if you slip, you're only gonna fall 2 feet instead of falling 40 feet to the ground. And then if you have to climb over obstacle courses as you're going up, there's a secondary belt that you take along. So you're always tied off. So then you would add another belt to yourself.
Not big enough.
So let's say if there was a wire here, you had to climb over the wire, you would go around the pole on top of the wire, hook back onto yourself, then you would unhook this one and take it off and keep climbing and hook that up. Then you just do reverse as you come back down. So there's always, so you're always covered, you're always tethered off to something there.
So your guys are very much in shape.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And not that we climb a lot anymore, because with the bucket trucks and with with people with knees. I mean, when you climb and the old timers, that's all they did was climb. So their knees were shot by the time they were probably 50. You're all walking bow-legged like a cowboy or something like that. So and we look at it as they climb if they have to. And the biggest thing is why we learn how to climb is every year we get certified through MREA. It's Minnesota Rural Electric Association, and through them, they give us safety programs, and throughout the year that they come down on different topics and explain the safety, aspects of it. But we have to get tested for pole top rescue, because if somebody happens to be up on the pole and gets electrocuted, you have to, put your stuff on and get them off the pole. So, and every minute that lineman is up there in cardiac arrest, they say 10%, for every minute, 10% of their heart is lost. So, I mean, it's kind of, you're against time if it ever happens, and unfortunately it does happen, but like I say, that's why you practice safety, safety, safety all the time. So, how are you gonna climb up that pole?
Careful.
Can we see what those guys are for? Okay, these are climbers that are used to strap on. Keep the guards on, but I'll just show you. So these here are the gaffs. So these are used to jab into the pole to climb the pole. So that's what's going to get you up the pole. Make you feel like a monkey. Okay. Okay. Step into that. Oops, sorry, I got that wrong side here. There we go. Step into that. And the reason why I have Velcro on here is back in 2005 for, was it 4 years? Me and 2 other guys went down to Kansas City. They have a National Linemen's Rodeo every year, and where you compete against other linemen throughout the world. And so they have the speed climb, pole top rescue, and then they have 2 other mystery events. You don't know until you get there that day. But so with the Velcro, before you used to have straps to put on. So this is so much easier that when you do the speed climb, you have none of your equipment on. So you're timed on putting your equipment on, running up the pole, and you have a little bag with an egg in it. So you got to climb up that 40-foot pole, and without that egg falling out, then once you get to the top, you got to drop the bag in a circle down below you, and then put that egg in your mouth and come back down as quick as you can. So we were doing it in about 28 to 30 seconds, when we were doing practice here, and that's what we did with down there. We thought, yeah, that's pretty good. Well, we had some guys from Georgia Power down south that live on poles every day. They were doing it in 15 seconds. So yeah, so we thought we were pretty fast. Yeah, we weren't even close. So that's what, so when you put them on, if you just throw it around like that, and that's, then you go to the next one. That's why we did the Velcro to do quicker, so.
Was Lyon-Lincoln involved in any way in the hurricane relief? Because I know a lot of linemen from Minnesota went down there.
Through MRA, they put a kind of a team task force together, and there was 12 linemen from 5 different co-ops that went down there. And actually my brother, that's a line superintendent for the city of Marshall, that's for the municipals. He actually headed up, him and another guy went down there as the safety, kind of the job overseers type deal. So they went down there and helped them too down there. So they were down there for a week, so yeah. Do you feel like you can do your job today safe?
Shine my belt. It's falling off.
Just over 5 minutes of class.
I gotta get a picture of this. So.
Oh yeah, I got you.
Oh, do you?
Oh, you'll get a video of it too. Share it at your family Christmas.
Great. Put this everywhere.
Gotta say cheese.
Cheese.
Perfect. So,
Safety.
safety first. Any other questions with anything that she has on?
I was gonna ask, how much does that all cost?
The belt and stuff, I'd say all the rubber goods and stuff like that, the co-op provides. But when you go to school, the belt and your hooks, I think they're right around, got $1,500, 1,500, I think, you know. And then you, alongside here, you still got about another 5 pounds of tools that I took that off. But you have a couple crescent wrenches, screwdriver, a Kleins, a hammer that you gotta bring up with you too. And then you always gotta bring up a hand line too, cause that's your way of when you go up the pole, that's if you get in trouble, that's how you are gonna get down from your other lineman. So that's your means of getting down the pole,
So how much does your whole kit weigh?
Well, how much does it weigh? How does it feel? I don't know, you got about 30, 40 pounds there maybe, I'm guessing. You know, so.
Plus
Yeah.
10 to 15 pounds of tools?
Yeah, yep, so yeah, so it's, they say it's, yeah, stressing your back, but yeah, definitely a good workout. But like I say, when you climb, you use muscles like you never used before. I mean, you just think it's walking and it'd be the same, but yeah, it's totally different. So, but, well, I'm out of here. We'll see you later. You can go to your next class.
Let's give Lyle a hand.
So.